So I was asked a question about using mantras for meditation. And the question was basically from someone who was using a mantra for their meditation practice. Sometimes they use the breath as their meditation object instead though. And they said that they felt that the mantra was more powerful and more effective, but they couldn't understand why. So this is something that happened to me when I first went to India. I would meet people in ashrams who would say that mantras are very powerful. And I couldn't understand, how could a mantra be powerful? It didn't make any sense to me. Growing up in the West, at school we simply don't get taught about mantras. It's just not a part of the curriculum. There's practically no place where you would learn anything about mantras. And so I arrived in India, where people use mantras very frequently, very often. And people told me that mantras are powerful. And I couldn't understand what they meant by that. And then I was taught a few mantras, and one day I was sitting on a train. I was traveling from the Himalayas down to Delhi, and I just happened to be the only person in my railway carriage. And for a long time, I was the only person in the whole railway carriage. And I was practicing some of the mantras that I'd been taught. And one of the mantras involved the mantra Om. And I started just repeating the mantra Om, and just repeating it over and over again out loud. And the train was moving, and the train has a certain rhythm and a certain noise from the engine. And I was chanting Om in rhythm with the movement of the train and the sound of the train. And I started to notice something strange happen. I started to notice that my body started flooding with ecstasy. My body became ecstatic, my whole body. And the more I chanted Om, the more my body filled with ecstasy, the more ecstatic it became. And so this was a new experience for me. I'd never experienced the relationship between creating a sound and the ecstasy in the body. And I remember thinking then, maybe this is why people say that mantras are powerful. So what was actually happening was that the vibration of the sound was having a certain effect on my subtle nervous system. The subtle nervous system is the system of chakras and nadis in the body. So these are channels made up of prana, made up of a very fine etheric substance. And so those are the nadis, and the chakras are energetic centers, which usually are found where these energetic channels cross. So the vibration of the sound Om was having a certain effect on these channels and energetic centers, and that's what was causing my body to come into a state of ecstasy. Now when it comes to meditation, there's actually a number of different ways in which we can use mantras. So a mantra can be chanted out loud, the way I was doing on the train. It can also be whispered. I could have been whispering the mantra. A mantra can also be thought in the mind. So just as a thought, it's silent. And there's two different ways in which we can think a mantra. We could just be thinking the mantra in the background whilst we're busy doing other things, thinking about other things, but the mantra is just going on, being repeated. That's something called mantra japa, which is a very common practice in yoga. But then there's an even more refined way in which we can use a mantra. And the more refined way is where we repeat a mantra silently in the mind and rest our attention gently with it. So it's not just going on in the background, we're actually aware of it, primarily aware of it. And if we lose it, if our attention wanders to something else, we bring our attention back to it. So that's 4 different ways of using a mantra, speaking it out loud, whispering it, thinking it, but thinking it going on in the background of our mind, and then thinking it, but resting our attention with it, and maintaining our attention with it if our attention wanders. Now, interestingly, the vibrational effect of a mantra becomes stronger as we go through these 4 phases. It's actually weakest when we chant the mantra out loud, and strongest when we think the mantra silently and are aware primarily of the mantra. And the more silent our mind is, the stronger the vibration of the mantra is, the stronger the effect of the mantra is. It's a bit like if we're sitting by a pond and we throw a stone into the middle of the pond. If the water is choppy, the stone won't have much of an effect on the pond. But if the pond is still, the ripples will go out in every direction right to the edge of the pond. So mantras are similar to that. If the mind is silent and still, and then we repeat a mantra silently in the mind, the effect will go right through our subtle nervous system, right through the chakras and the nadis, and it'll purify them as it goes. Now, the ecstasy that I mentioned earlier, that's actually caused by friction in the energetic channels. So if prana is flowing through the channels and there's some friction, that creates the ecstasy. That creates ecstasy in the body. And it feels like every cell of the body is dancing with joy. Every cell in your whole body is dancing with joy. And actually, when the channels become more purified, they become wider, they can handle stronger flows of prana. And then the ecstasy actually settles down. And then we move on to further stages in the path of spiritual awakening. So this is the reason that mantras are powerful, and the reason that meditating with a mantra is actually one of the most powerful meditation objects that you can use. There are different mantras, and each mantra will affect the subtle nervous system in a different way. Some are stronger than others. The mantra Om is quite a powerful mantra, not a good one for beginners to start off with. So it's important to learn how to use mantras from an experienced teacher and then follow the guidance.